Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Kev's Movie Corner. I am Kev, and this week we are talking about West Side Story. This movie was released in 1961. It's based off of a 1957 Broadway musical by the same name. Synopsis. That's the word I'm looking for. From IMDb is two youngsters from rival New York City gangs fall in love, but tensions between their respective friends build toward tragedy. This movie is Romeo and Juliet in New York City in 1960s New York City. It was a good film. There are a few things that I thought were a little drawn out, which I may not be alone, but among critics, I am alone, because this movie is well awarded and critically acclaimed for its wonderfulness, I guess, is a good way to, I guess I can say it that way. The movie starts off, first off, the first 5 minutes of the film is lines on a screen with music playing in the background, and the background color changes. That's it. First 5 minutes is the overture of the musical, and I don't really know why they needed to keep that in there. I think you could have probably cut that and just done the start, but that's just me. Then we get into the actual, you meet the two rival gangs, the Jets and the Sharks. The Jets are the American teenagers in New York City, in Manhattan, and the Sharks are a Puerto Rican immigrants, and there is a lot of racial tensions between the two groups throughout the film, which is what causes a lot of the tensions, and a lot of kind of telling people to go, back home and things like that, which is not really, it's not really okay, but it's a movie from the 60s, so, and it's a musical. But anyway, this is, you have about 10 minutes of dancing and kind of snapping your fingers. They do a lot of snapping their fingers. This is that whole scene kind of at the beginning where they're doing that, running around, dancing. You meet both sides as they kind of fight. They don't really fight. They kind of just, dance around each other and toss each other in a dancing fashion. And then after 15 minutes into the movie is when you get like the first actual dialogue of this. And it kind of just goes along. They all end up, you don't meet Maria or Tony for another few minutes still. You meet the leaders of the gangs and kind of the members of the two rival gangs, the Sharks and the Jets. And Tony, you learn a little bit later that Tony, there's supposed to be a big dance tonight. They're gonna, the Jets are gonna challenge the Sharks to a rumble or a fight to determine who will be over the turf, the area that the Jets have claimed. And they're going to do this at a dance. And the leader of the Jets goes to find Tony to try to get him to come to the dance as well. And that's when you meet Tony. He's not really involved in the gang anymore, even though he was a founder of it, or one of the founders of the gang. And in another scene, you meet Maria, who is our lead female and lead female love interest, Tony and Maria. And she is the sorry, she is the sister of the head of the Sharks, the Puerto Rican gang. And they end up, Tony and Maria end up meeting at this dance, and there's a long kind of, slow dance session between the two, and then while this is going on, the Sharks and the Jets are also competing at the dance, because the gym is like the only neutral zone where the dance is. So they're competing in the dance, and then Tony and Maria see each other and kind of meet in the middle of the dance floor. And they kind of get separated by the two groups, and that's when they set up a time to talk about this fight, to basically decide what they're gonna, all the rules of the fight. Tony ends up following to find Maria at her house, and they tell each other they love each other, which is, like an instantaneous thing, which is kind of interesting, and, it moves along quick, so I guess that works. But you get the two gangs coming together to set up the rules for a fight, and they set up the time, they set up the rules. Tony's there, and one of the elders, older, kind of like guy, what's the best word to use for him? Doc. He owns a candy shop in the area that they're disputing over, and that's where they all meet to set the fight. And Tony tells Doc that Doc figures out that Tony has fallen in love with a member of the rival gang, or relative of that gang, and kind of, tries to talk him out of it, but it's young love, whatever. So that's happening. Tony goes to meet Maria again. She tells him that he needs to stop this fight, because it's only bad for their relationship if it continues. So he does. He goes to try to stop the fight, and fight happens. Anyway, it's supposed to just be a fist fight. It escalates, and they end up pulling out knives, and the leader of the Jets gets killed. And in all of that, Tony picks up the knife and stabs and kills Maria's brother. So then there is a whole thing about Tony and Maria trying to, or Tony is sad that both of them are dead. He didn't want anybody to be hurt. The Jets are now, you've got one of them who's trying to, calm everybody down and be like, why do we need to do this? The rest are kind of just trying to protect Tony, because one of the Sharks is now reportedly searching for Tony to kill him after he killed their leader. So we go to, Maria finds out that her brother was killed, and she still wants Tony. She still loves Tony. Tony explains, she finds Tony. Tony explains that he didn't mean to kill him. He tried to stop it. Whatever. She still wants, they talk about running away. And he eventually leaves because one of her friends comes in, the girlfriend of the shark who was killed. This all happens. Tony's kind of running away. Police show up to talk to Maria about who could have killed her brother, and the other boy, and the leader of the Jets. She tells her friend to go find Tony, or to go, talk to Tony. She ends up getting basically attacked by the Jets, and then tells them that Maria was killed. She says that the shark who liked her, found out that she was involved with Tony, and that Tony killed the leader of the Sharks, and then killed her. So Tony's very upset. He goes out looking for this guy because he hears that he's wanting to kill him as well. So he goes out looking for him to try to let him kill him because he doesn't want to live without Maria. So at the moment that he's doing this, he sees Maria. They run to each other, and the other boy shoots and kills Tony. And Maria's very upset. The gangs both kind of stand around and watch Tony die and watch her be upset. She threatens to shoot several of them, and before falling down on her knees and just crying and, missing her Tony. And the boys, the Jets, and the Sharks, couple of them from each group come together to take Tony's body away. And you kind of see them all kind of dissipate then, and the cops take in two of the shooter at this point. And that's where the movie ends. Very sad ending. Obviously, it's based off Romeo and Juliet, which is also a very sad ending. You also, during this whole movie, I'm very bad at explaining what happens in these movies. Just going to tell you that now. After I've told you, you can see that I'm very bad at doing this, but, just going to reiterate. I know I'm not good at this, so whatever. If you stayed around to watch, thanks. Yay. You also have the cops that kind of show up in a detective and a police officer who show up in a couple different scenes, and they're kind of racist against the Sharks as well. The detective tells the Jets that he's trying to help them, and then he tries to figure out where this fight is going to be, and they won't tell him. Nobody will tell him what's going on. So it's just kind of a whole big ordeal that possibly could have been prevented if somebody would have done something, but they're all a bunch of teenagers who were, fighting over nothing. There are several musical numbers and dance numbers mixed in, because of course this is a musical. So if you don't like musicals, don't watch this, because it is very much a musical. It is a very highly rated musical, though. This film was nominated for 11 Academy Awards, won 10 of them, including Best Picture. Very high honors. It holds the record for the most wins for a musical. So that's another thing. I found a couple interesting things about this that I thought was interesting. I guess I just said that, but during the filming of this, the actors of the rival gangs were told to play pranks on each other to keep the tensions high, so that they would, kind of stay annoyed with each other during filming, which is an interesting and kind of funny thing. The original film, or the original musical, so the casting for this is kind of interesting. The woman who originally played Maria, let me double check that. No, I don't want characters. I want cast. Yeah. So the woman who originally played Maria was looked at to be the woman who originally played Maria on Broadway, was looked at to be Maria in the movie. But they decided that after seeing a screen test of her, they decided she was too old to play Maria in this film. That was Carol Lawrence. She was 29 at the time that they did the film. And they also looked at hiring Elvis to be Tony, but Tom Parker turned it down. So that's interesting. I don't know what it would have. I don't know how much it would have been different if Elvis was the main love interest in this movie. But that's an interesting thought. I don't know if that would have. I wonder if that would have helped or hurt this movie. I don't know. Makes it a little bit different of of a thing, because I think Elvis might have. I know that some of these actors and actresses are probably Natalie Wood plays Maria in this, and Richard Beymer plays Tony. Now, neither one of them apparently sing. Marni Nixon was the singing voice for Maria, and Jimmy Bryant was the singing voice for Tony. So neither one of them apparently sing, or a lot of these people actually don't sing their own parts. It doesn't look like a lot of the main cast doesn't sing their own parts. But I wonder how that would have made a difference. I don't know. I wonder if that would have taken away from it or possibly helped it. That's an interesting thought. Anyway, several songs in this again. It's not the only, like I said, there's a couple scenes that I thought that it's 2.5 hours long. There's a couple scenes that I thought could have been shortened. A couple of the dance numbers, they seemed like they went on for a long time. That probably wouldn't do well today because people don't have the attention span that they might have had in the 60s. So that might not go as well now. But it is, I mean, the main thing that I would cut down, the two main things that I would cut down, and it would cut down a big chunk of the movie, is the opening sequence where you have 15 minutes before you get to any dialogue. So 5 minutes at the beginning where you don't have any movie. It's just a bunch of lines that show the New York skyline, which you can't really even tell until they do like a transition to see it. Or I couldn't really tell. I was trying to figure out if it was the name or the title or whatever, and it was going to move, but it didn't. It just sat there for 5 minutes, which was kind of like, okay, well, what's going on? So that was a little much, and then yeah, it's but other than that, it's a very, I enjoyed it. It was a good movie. It is a musical again, so if you don't like musicals, don't try to watch it. If you do, if you do like musicals, you've probably already seen it. So it's one of the I would say classic musicals. So anyway, I think that's about it for this week, guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment down below. Let me know what you thought of this movie. Next week, we're talking about Taxi Driver from 1976. So join me for that one as well. And again, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and I will talk to you next week.